Okay, so the most interesting thing I found at Gauteng Online was that they make a distinction between the cultural sector, which is the performing arts, the visual arts, the craft sector, and heritage, compared to the creative industries, which we were talking about earlier. So they almost separate arts and culture activities from what are commonly perceived to be the creative industries, simply because those cultural activities are largely reliant on government funding or organs of government or corporates for donations. And funding for the arts is a relatively unstable exercise, which means that it's very difficult to make the argument for the cultural sectors as an economic driver, because they don't really apply the business principles which are often inherent in some of the other creative industries. They don't really apply business principles and generate income. So I put to you, colleagues, that the thing that we need to do and take away from today, as the speakers earlier have said, is we need to look at how is it possible to apply some of those business principles to our arts and culture endeavors. This is a quote by Sue Viders. She says, she tells artists that they should do research, that they should research the market and have a marketing plan, because there is no use in creating something for which there is no market. I've worked across the creative industries, and I ran a project in Cape Town called the Writers Network, where writers would come to me with an idea for a book. And they would sit down and often want to spend about 2 hours telling me what their fantastic idea is for the great new South African novel. And I would ask them, so what's the last novel that you've read? And they would reach. I'd ask them to name, oh, I want to publish a collection of poetry. Name me 3 top South African poets. Often artists don't understand the environment that they're working in. There's no sense of, I'm creating this product. Where's this product located on the arts and culture landscape? Who am I competing against? Because it's fine to write the great South African novel, but you need to know which novels you're up against currently, which novels exist. Similarly, in terms of which exhibition you choose to put up, which performing arts production you want to put on. Okay, I want to do a great South African play. When last have you been to see a play? Do you know what's going on at the market? So it's really about understanding what is out there and creating your work in line with what is available, because that's your competition. So there's a very simple sort of spidergram of a basic marketing plan. My marketing officer at UJ Arts and Culture was very impressed with me. Sorry, Precious, I just pulled that off Google. It's not very difficult. You can find lots of templates and guides and examples. Those are 6 very simple steps for a marketing plan. They're not rocket science, but there are things that we need to take into account, because there is no point in creating work for which there is no market. It's fine if you expect audiences to come, audiences to buy tickets, to buy your artwork, to buy your craft, to buy your novel. You need to know that there is a demand. Otherwise, you just need to be happy making the art and exhibiting it in your lounge, or writing your novel and leaving it in the top drawer. Because unless you have an understanding of the landscape, your work is not going to land. It's not going to find a market. It's not going to find an audience. It's not going to be popular, and it's not going to win awards. This is a fantastic article from the Huffington Post by Daniel Grant. And the title reads, "When the business of the art gets too much, artists get themselves a manager." Yes, managers have contracts and charge you certain things, but they're not only... You're shaking your head, why? Well, I'm going to offer you something slightly different. As opposed to individual managers, again, as a playwright, I've been with lots of different agents, and at the end, your 25% feels more like 145%, so it is an area you need to navigate carefully. But if you don't know, if you don't understand contracts, if you're not able to negotiate, if you're not able to say no, and people just want to use your product and give you the exposure. I'll give you an example. Our UJ choir is very well renowned, and we have a resident musical genius who conducts them, so they're very much in demand. So we often get calls from corporates. Doesn't your choir want to come perform at our staff day, and we'll organize a radio interview for them? And that's transporting 70 students outside of their core academic work to go to a corporate to sing so that we can get an interview. We have marketing support that can organize our own interviews. Thank you very much. If you'd like to use our choir, pay. So there are not, yes, there are individual managers, and often, unlike the North, in the South, the work product and the competition doesn't really warrant that percentage which a manager takes. So I'm not proposing that you look at individual managers. There are great collectives like Samro is fantastic for musicians. Dalro for playwrights is awesome. You go and register your work. There's no fee. They manage. You give them a mandate. They put, whether you're published or unpublished, they will put your work onto their database. That when people phone in and they want to do plays for schools, your work sits there. They charge an administration fee. They're very upfront about it. But you know, you've got somebody looking after your interests as opposed to your work is somewhere on the internet and somebody's just performing it. Okay, that's me.